The diplomatic chamber hummed with the kind of silence that precedes catastrophe. Ambassador Verleith of the Corvian hegemony had witnessed countless treaty negotiations across 400 solar cycles, but never, not once, had she encountered a species quite so unsettling as the humans. The woman sitting across the negotiation platform wore what her species called a smile. Verith had studied human expressions for months preparing for this encounter, yet somehow the curve of those lips seemed less like friendliness and more like the baring of teeth. Before a strike, the humans identification badge read Director Maya Thornton, Earth Coalition, Department of External Affairs. Her dark eyes reflected the ambient lighting of the station, giving them an almost predatory gleam. So Verleith began, her vocal membranes adjusting to produce sounds compatible with human hearing. Your world wishes to petition for membership in the Galactic Accord, a bold request for such a young civilization. Maya leaned back in her chair with an ease that bordered on disrespectful. Bold ambassador, we sent our application 3 standard cycles ago. Your council has been stalling. We both know why. The other delegates around the circular table shifted uncomfortably. Breath's secondary hearts accelerated slightly. This human spoke with the confidence of established powers, not minor species barely 2 centuries into space travel. Counselor Dreek, towering Hexarian whose exoskeleton gleamed under the lights, clicked his mandibles in what translated to dismissive laughter. Your species controls exactly 7 star systems. 7. The Quavian hegemony alone governs 2,346. You understand the disparity? Yes. Oh, I understand perfectly, Maya replied, her smile widening just enough to show teeth. You're afraid of us. The chamber erupted. 3 different species began shouting in their native languages, their translation devices struggling to keep pace. Verleith raised both her primary arms, calling for order. Afraid, Verleith repeated once the noise subsided. With respect, Director Thornton, your species lacks the technological foundation, the military capacity, the economic infrastructure to pose any concern whatsoever to the established powers. We are not afraid. We are simply cautious about extending full membership to worlds still finding their footing among the stars. Maya reached into the small case beside her chair. Every security officer in the room tensed, hands moving toward weapons that protocol forbade them from drawing in. Diplomatic space. She pulled out what appeared to be a standard data tablet. Archaic by galactic standards, primitive. Even cautious, Maya echoed, tapping the tablet surface. That's an interesting word choice. Let me tell you what I find interesting, Ambassador. 3 months ago, the Corvian hegemony updated its military defense protocols across all border systems. New encryption, new command structures, new everything. Very secure, very secret. Breath skin patterns flickered, a telltale sign of anxiety among her people. Our internal security measures are hardly your concern. 2 months ago, Maya continued, ignoring the interruption, the Hexarian Defense Fleet implemented a new targeting algorithm for their long-range bombardment cruisers, reduced response time by 3 seconds. Impressive work. Really must have taken your best programmers years to develop. Dramek's mandibles went absolutely still, which for his species indicated shock bordering on terror. 6 weeks ago, Maya went on, her voice dropping to something quieter, more dangerous. The Salarian Commerce Guild discovered that 17% of their encrypted financial transactions were being siphoned to unknown accounts. They blamed pirates. They blamed inside traders. They never found the source. She set the tablet down on the table with a soft click that somehow echoed through the massive chamber. Should I continue? Because I can talk about the VIN's supposedly unhackable orbital defense grid, or the private communications between the Council of 9 that discussed contingency plans for limiting human expansion. Or perhaps we could discuss the meeting that took place on this very station last month, where 12 member species agreed to vote against Earth's petition regardless of merit. The silence that followed could have suffocated stars. Verleith found her voice first, though it came out as barely more than a whisper. How do you have this information? Maya's laugh was sharp, genuine, almost musical. How, Ambassador? That's the wrong question. The question you should be asking is, what else do we know? And more importantly, what are we going to do with that knowledge? She stood, and despite being shorter than most beings in the room, she somehow seemed to tower over them all. Let me paint you a picture, Maya said, beginning to pace around the table like a lecturer addressing particularly slow students. Earth is classified in your databases as a minor species, limited technology, limited reach, minimal threat assessment. You have entire doctoral programs at your militaries that use humanity as case studies in species that peak too early, that will probably destroy themselves before they become relevant on the galactic stage. Those assessments were based on available data. Protested weekly. Available data, Maya repeated. Right. Because you've been monitoring our transmissions, our networks, our communication since the day we figured out how to send signals into space. 97 observation posts throughout our solar system. You think we didn't notice? You think we didn't wonder why so many friendly alien probes kept malfunctioning near our planets? She stopped behind her chair, gripping its back with both hands. Here's what you missed while you were busy being condescending, while your scientists were analyzing our primitive computer systems and our basic encryption. Human children, literal children, were breaking into secure networks just for fun. We call them hackers, script kiddies, hobbyists. By the time your intelligence agencies noticed we had any kind of cyber capability at all, we had already mapped 70% of the Accord's communication infrastructure. Dramek finally found his voice. Impossible. Our security measures are beyond anything your species could. Oh, shut up, Maya interrupted, and the casual dismissal was somehow more shocking than any threat could have been. Your security measures are designed to stop attacks that think like you think. Linear, hierarchical, logical. Human brains were messy. We're chaotic. We make intuitive leaps that your most advanced artificial intelligence systems can't predict, because they're not supposed to make sense. She pulled up a holographic display from her primitive tablet, and suddenly the air above the table filled with flowing data streams, encryption keys, command codes, all rendered in stunning detail. This, Maya said, gesturing to a particularly complex string of code, is the master control sequence for the Corvian hegemony's border defense network. This one here, that's the back door your programmers accidentally left in the Hexarian targeting system, and this beautiful mess, that's the financial routing information for every single off-books account. The Soltarian Commerce Guild doesn't want anyone to know about. Varith felt her legs weakening. She sank back into her chair, her skin patterns now displaying pure, undiluted fear. How long, she managed to ask, how long have you had access? Maya's smile returned, but this time it held no warmth whatsoever. Access, Ambassador, we've had access since before your species classified us as minor. The better question is why haven't we used it? Why haven't we crashed your economies, disabled your defenses, exposed your secrets? She let the question hang in the air for a long moment, watching as the implications settled over the assembled delegates like a suffocating blanket. Because unlike what your species assessments suggest, humans actually believe in things like diplomacy, cooperation, mutual benefit. We looked at the Galactic Accord and saw an opportunity for genuine partnership. We saw a species that had solved problems we're still struggling with: climate stabilization, energy distribution, interstellar logistics. We wanted to learn, we wanted to contribute, we wanted to be part of something bigger than ourselves. Maya walked slowly back to her seat, her footsteps the only sound in the vast chamber. But you looked at us and saw primitives, barbarians, a species too young, too aggressive, too unstable to sit at the adults' table. And you know what the really funny part is? The part that makes me laugh until my sides hurt. While you were busy looking down at us, evaluating our worthiness, measuring our technological development against your standards, we were already inside your systems, already reading your mail, already understanding exactly how fragile your precious accord really is. She sat down, folding her hands on the table in front of her. So here we are. Earth formally petitions for full membership in the Galactic Accord, and you have a choice to make. You can accept our petition, welcome us as equals, and benefit from everything humanity has to offer: our perspectives, our innovations, our unique approach to problem solving that's so different from yours, that we've spent 3 years wandering through your most secure systems like tourists in a museum. Verley's translator picked up the pause, rendered it perfectly in her native tongue. Or Maya continued, her voice dropping to something cold enough to freeze atmospheres. You can reject us, you can maintain your classifications and your hierarchies and your comfortable assumptions about who matters and who doesn't in this galaxy. And if you choose that path, well, then we'll have to reconsider our approach to galactic relations. Is that a threat? Counselor Dreech demanded, his voice trying and failing to sound authoritative. Maya tilted her head, considering. A threat would be me telling you that if Earth's petition is rejected, every single piece of classified information we've collected over the past 3 years gets released to the public networks of every member species simultaneously. A threat would be me explaining in detail how we could disable your defensive grids, crash your economies, or expose corruption that would topple governments across 100 worlds. Threat would be me pointing out that your military superiority is based entirely on us choosing not to push a few buttons. She paused, her expression softening slightly. But I'm not making threats, Ambassador. I'm simply providing context. You wanted to know why you should take Earth seriously despite our limited territory and young civilization. Now you know, we're not asking to join your club because we're impressed by you. We're asking because we genuinely believe cooperation beats domination every single time, but make no mistake, we're not asking from a position of weakness. The chamber remained silent. Verleith looked around at her fellow delegates, seeing her own shock reflected in their expressions, their postures, their involuntary stress responses. Finally she spoke, her voice carefully controlled. You've made your point, Director Thornton, but surely you understand that this revelation, this demonstration, it changes everything. The Council will need time to reassess, to verify your claims, to determine how to proceed. Of course, Maya agreed easily. Take all the time you need. We're patient. We've waited this long. A few more cycles won't hurt, but while you're reassessing and verifying, maybe keep in mind that every day you treat us like children is another day you're underestimating the species currently holding all your secrets. She stood again, preparing to leave. Oh, one more thing, Maya added, as if remembering something trivial. The observation posts you have in our solar system, the ones monitoring our development, we've been feeding them curated information for the past 18 months, everything you think you know about current human technological capabilities, our military strength, our resource allocation. It's what we wanted you to see. Just thought you should know that your intelligence assessments might need some updating. With that, she picked up her tablet, nodded politely to the stunned delegates, and walked toward the chamber exit. Her footsteps echoed in the silence, each one like a hammer blow to the Accord's comfortable assumptions. Just before the door sealed behind her, she turned back one last time. By the way, she called out, her voice carrying across the distance, that update you're all thinking about sending to your security departments right now, the emergency protocols you want to initiate, will know about them approximately 3.7 seconds after you transmit them. Not trying to show off, just thought you should be aware. Transparency is important in diplomatic relations, don't you think? The door closed. The silence that followed lasted for nearly a full minute before anyone dared to speak. Verith slumped in her chair, her skin patterns cycling through colors that indicated confusion, fear, and grudging respect in equal measure. Around the table, other delegates were pulling out their communication devices, their data tablets, their secure terminals, suddenly looking at these familiar tools with deep suspicion. She was bluffing, Dreek said, but his mandibles trembled as he spoke. She must have been bluffing. No species, especially not one as young as the humans, could possibly have penetrated our system so thoroughly. Verleith wanted to believe him. Every fiber of her being wanted to dismiss Maya Thornton's claims as psychological warfare, elaborate deception, desperate posturing from a species trying to punch above its weight class. But she couldn't, because mixed in with all that fear and confusion was something else. Recognition. She'd seen this pattern before in her studies of galactic history. Species that seemed primitive, insignificant, easily dismissed right up until the moment they proved everyone wrong. The Vin had nearly conquered half the galaxy before anyone realized they weren't the peaceful traders they pretended to be. The Soltarian Commerce Guild had restructured galactic economics while everyone dismissed them as simple merchants. History was littered with Examples of power hiding behind. Assumptions waiting for the perfect moment to reveal itself. We need to verify her claims, Verith said. Finally, contact your security departments, have them conduct immediate audits of all systems, check for intrusions, backdoors, anything unusual. And if she was telling the truth? Another delegate asked, a small Planthian whose voice shook with barely contained panic. Breath looked at the door through which Maya Thornton had exited, at the space where a human had just casually demolished every comfortable assumption the galactic accord held about power, hierarchies, and who really mattered in the cosmos. If she was telling the truth, Verleith said slowly, then we have been making a catastrophic mistake, one that could reshape everything we thought we knew about galactic politics. She activated her secure communication line, requesting an emergency session of the full council. As she waited for confirmation, her mind raced through the implications. If humans had really penetrated their system so thoroughly, if they really had been monitoring, learning, preparing while everyone dismissed them as irrelevant, then Earth wasn't asking for membership from a position of weakness. They were offering the Accord a chance to avoid humiliation, to welcome them as equals. Before humanity decided that cooperation wasn't worth the condescension, the confirmation came through. Emergency session approved. All council members to convene within 3 standard hours. Verleith stood on shaking legs, wondering how she was going to explain to the most powerful beings in the galaxy that they'd been outmaneuvered by a species they'd classified as minor, that somewhere in Earth's solar system humans had been watching, learning, and laughing at the entire Accord's expense. As she left the chamber, Relith caught sight of her reflection in the polished wall panels. Her skin pattern still showed fear, but underneath that, barely visible, was another color, respect. Because the truth was, if someone had to break through the Accord's arrogance and force them to reconsider their assumptions, it might as well be a species capable of holding their entire communication infrastructure hostage while asking politely for membership. The galaxy was about to change. Verleith could feel it in her bones, in her 3 hearts, in the way her skin patterns shifted and flowed. And the terrifying, exhilarating part, humanity had probably planned for this moment years ago, had probably wargamed every possible response, had probably prepared for every contingency, while the Accord's intelligence agencies filed reports about Earth's primitive technology and limited capabilities. The door to her private transport sealed shut, and Verith allowed herself a small, stressed laugh. Minor species. They'd called Earth a minor species. Humans must have found that absolutely hilarious. The emergency council session convened. In chaos, Breath had never seen the Grand Assembly chamber so disorganized, so fractured with panic and accusation. Delegates screamed at each other across the tiered seating, their translation devices struggling to keep pace with 17 different languages, all expressing variations of the same sentiment. Terror. My security chief confirms. Unauthorized access spanning back 31 months, shouted Ambassador Krell of the Vin Collective, his thermal vents flaring red with agitation. 31 months, they've been watching us for nearly 3 cycles. That's nothing, countered Director Vesh from the Soltarian Commerce Guild, her tendrils writhing in distress. Our Forensic accountants found traces going back 4 years, 4 years of financial surveillance. They know everything. Every transaction, every backroom deal, every enough. High Chancellor Morin's voice cut through the noise like a blade through atmosphere. The ancient Calvarite leader rarely spoke during standard sessions, preferring to let younger delegates exhaust themselves with debate, but when more than spoke, entire civilizations listened, screaming at each other solves nothing. We need information, we need options, and we need them immediately. Verleith rose from her seat, her skin patterns carefully neutral despite the storm of emotions churning inside her. Chancellor, I've compiled preliminary reports from security agencies across 47 member species. The pattern is consistent. Human intrusion into our networks appears to be comprehensive, sophisticated, and most disturbingly, entirely undetected until they chose to reveal themselves. Chose more than repeated, his ancient eyes fixing on breath. You believe this was intentional disclosure? Without question, Breel confirmed. Director Thornton could have continued operating in secret indefinitely. Instead, she revealed their capabilities in a calculated, diplomatic maneuver. They're not attacking us, they're negotiating from strength, Counselor. Dreek's mandibles clacked irritably. Negotiating, this is extortion. Blackmail, they're holding our security infrastructure hostage. Are they? More than asked softly. Question silenced the chamber. Has Earth made any demands beyond their original petition for membership? Have they threatened to release sensitive information, to disable our defenses, to exploit their access in any way? The silence stretched uncomfortably. No, Breath admitted. Their position is surprisingly simple. Join us as equals, or we'll reconsider our diplomatic approach. There's no ultimatum, no deadline, no specific threats, which somehow makes it worse, muttered Ambassador Krell. A junior aide burst through the chamber doors, violating about 9 different protocols in the process. Apologies, High Chancellor, but you need to see this. All of you need to see this. The central holographic display activated without authorization. Another breach of protocol that would normally result in immediate detention, but nobody moved to stop it. The image that materialized stopped everyone cold. It was a 3-dimensional map of the entire Galactic Accord's communication network, every relay station, every encrypted channel, every secure transmission node, rendered in perfect detail, with one significant addition: thin golden lines threading through the infrastructure like veins through tissue. The lines pulsed gently, almost organically. What are we looking at? Morin demanded. This arrived simultaneously at every council member's personal terminal 3 minutes ago, the aide explained, his voice trembling. It's from Earth. The golden lines represent confirmed human access points in our network. The message accompanying it says, and I quote, "Thought you might want to know the actual scope. We're excellent at hide and seek, but transparency builds trust. Looking forward to your decision. Respectfully, the human problem you didn't know you had." Breath stared at the map, watching those golden lines pulse and flow. They were everywhere: communications, defense grids, financial systems, transport, logistics, scientific databases, governmental archives. There wasn't a single major system in the Accord that didn't have at least 3 access points marked in that mocking golden light. This is leverage. Morin said quietly, they're showing us. They could everything we've built, crash civilizations, cause chaos that would take decades to resolve, and they're doing it with what I believe humans call a smiley face. Attached to the message, actually the aide said weakly, there were 3 smiley faces and what appears to be an animated image of a small earth creature called a cat, accompanied by text reading, "We can." Has membership now despite everything, despite the fear and confusion and existential dread. Verlith felt laughter bubbling up in her throat. She fought it down, but not quickly enough. Several delegates turned to stare at her. They're mocking us, she explained, her skin patterns flickering between stress and amusement, showing us they could destroy everything we've built, and they're using humor. Cute animals, deliberate grammatical errors, it's psychological warfare, designed to make us feel ridiculous for ever underestimating them. Is it working? Morin asked, completely. Brelith admitted. The High Chancellor leaned back in his ceremonial seat, his expression unreadable. 37,000 years, he said softly. That's how long I've lived. I've witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations. I've seen wars that consumed entire galactic sectors. I've negotiated peace treaties, trade agreements, territorial disputes across more star systems than most species ever explore. And never, not once in 37,000 years, have I been so thoroughly outmaneuvered by a species still learning to walk among the stars. So what do? Ambassador Krell asked. We can't accept them now. It would look like capitulation. It would be capitulation, Drake agreed. They've forced our hand through intimidation. Morden's laugh was dry as dust across desert worlds. Forced our hand. Counselors, they haven't forced anything. They've simply revealed that the power dynamic we assumed existed was fantasy. Earth isn't demanding membership. They're offering us the dignity of accepting them before everyone realizes we can't actually stop them from doing whatever they want. He gestured to the holographic map with one gnarled appendage. Look at this, really. Look at it. This represents capabilities we didn't think possible from a species. Their age, not because it requires advanced technology, though clearly their computing power exceeds our estimates, but because it requires a fundamentally different way of thinking about systems, security, information flow. They saw our networks not as static defenses to breach, but as living ecosystems to inhabit. Breath found herself nodding. The assessment reports from our security agencies all note the same thing. Human intrusion methods don't follow predictable patterns. They improvise. They find solutions that shouldn't work according to established algorithmic theory, but do work because human cognition operates on principles our artificial intelligence systems haven't evolved to counter. Meaning, prompted Ambassador Krell, meaning even if we purge every known access point, develop new encryption, rebuild our entire infrastructure from scratch, they'll find another way in, because the vulnerability isn't technological, it's conceptual. Our systems are designed by species that think in ordered, logical progressions. Humans think in chaos and leaps of intuition. It's like trying to build walls against water. They don't break through barriers, they flow around them. The chamber fell silent as the implications settled like sediment in still water. Finally a voice spoke from the upper tiers. Ambassador Sheenith of The Planthan Union, known for her diplomatic pragmatism. Then perhaps we should stop thinking about this as a problem and start considering it as an opportunity. Every eye turned toward her. Explain. Morin commanded. Sheenith descended from her small frame somehow, commanding attention despite being dwarfed by most delegates. We've spent this entire session focused on what humans can do to us, what they've already done, but consider what they could do for us. Every member species has enemies, pirates, rogue states, hostile civilizations beyond our borders, intelligence agencies that struggle to penetrate encrypted networks, criminal organizations operating in the shadows. She gestured to the holographic map. Earth has demonstrated capabilities that could revolutionize galactic security, intelligence gathering, counter espionage operations. They could help us root out corruption, track criminal networks, identify threats before they materialize, and they're offering to share these capabilities through formal membership rather than operating as an unaccountable shadow power. You're suggesting we reward their intrusion? Drake asked incredulously. I'm suggesting we acknowledge reality. Sheenith countered. They're already inside our systems. They've been there for years. We can either continue pretending we have leverage we clearly don't possess, or we can negotiate terms that benefit everyone, make Earth responsible to the Accord rather than free to operate however they wish. Vareth felt her skin pattern shifting to display consideration. Shaneth's logic was sound, even if it stung to admit. More than tapped his ceremonial staff against the floor, the sound echoing through the chamber. Valid perspective, but it raises another question. If we accept Earth's membership now after this demonstration, what precedent does it set? Every ambitious species will assume they can threaten their way to power. With respect, High Chancellor Verleith interjected. Earth didn't threaten. They demonstrated capability and asked for recognition. There's a significant difference. Other species can attempt similar demonstrations, but how many possess capabilities worth recognizing? Earth proved they earned a seat at our table before asking for one. That's actually the opposite of the president you're concerned about. They infiltrated our most secure systems, Drake protested. They revealed that our most secure systems weren't actually secure, Breath corrected. Uncomfortable truth, but truth nonetheless. And honestly, I'd rather have humans inside our networks as allies than operating independently. At least as members, we have diplomatic channels, mutual obligations, frameworks for cooperation. The debate continued for hours. Arguments circled and spiraled, touching on security concerns, political ramifications, economic implications, philosophical questions about power and recognition. But gradually, inevitably, the tone shifted. Fear transformed into grudging respect. Anger mellowed into pragmatic consideration. Finally, as the station's artificial day cycle approached its end, High Chancellor Morin called for silence. We will vote, he announced. But before we do, I want to address something that's been troubling me throughout this discussion. We've debated Earth's capabilities, their tactics, their potential value or threat to the Accord. But we haven't addressed the real question. He paused, his ancient eyes scanning the assembly. What kind of species achieves this level of capability and chooses diplomacy? They could have revealed themselves with demands with conquest with exploitation. Instead, they asked politely for membership, demonstrated their qualifications only when we dismissed them and made jokes about cats, while showing us how thoroughly they'd infiltrated our civilization. Morden's laugh was genuine this time, rich with appreciation. That's not the behavior of a threat. That's the behavior of a species that genuinely wants to be part of something larger than themselves but refuses to be patronized in the process. They're not asking permission to matter, they're asking us to acknowledge that they already do. EU raised his staff. Question before us isn't whether Earth deserves membership, they've proven beyond doubt they do. The question is whether we're wise enough to recognize it. All in favor of accepting Earth's petition for full membership in the Galactic Accord signify your assent. The vote wasn't unanimous. Fear, pride, and political calculation ensured a few dissenting voices, but the majority was overwhelming. Green indicators lit across the chamber, display representing hundreds of member species choosing adaptation over rigidity, partnership over hierarchy. Vareth activated her communication array, establishing a secure channel to Earth's orbital embassy. Maya Thornton's face appeared on her personal display, the human director looking refreshed, despite the late hour by Earth time. Director Thornton, Verleith began. Formally, the Council has reached a decision regarding Earth's petition for membership. Let me guess, Maya interrupted her smile, knowing you voted yes after hours of debate, probably with some dissenting voices from species too proud to admit they got played. And now you're going to make a gracious speech about how Earth's unique qualifications and fresh perspective will benefit the Accord. Eflith's skin patterns flickered with irritation and amusement. You were monitoring our deliberations. Of course we were, Ma confirmed cheerfully, but don't worry, we'll pretend to be surprised and grateful when you make the official announcement. Tomorrow, wouldn't want to ruin your moment. Your insufferable breath said, but without real heat. We prefer confident. Maya corrected, but Ambassador, before you go, I want you to know something. Everything we did, every system we accessed, every secret we uncovered, we did it because we genuinely want this partnership to work. We needed you to take us seriously, not as primitives, asking for handouts, but as equals, bringing value to the table. Her expression softened. Humans have this saying, walk softly and carry a big stick. We tried walking softly. You dismissed us, so we showed you the stick. But here's the thing, we don't actually want to use it. We want to build things together, solve problems together, face whatever challenges this galaxy throws at us together. That's why we're here. Verleith found herself believing it, despite everything, despite the fear and chaos of the past hours. She believed this human actually meant what she said. Tomorrow, Verleith confirmed. Official ceremony at midday station time. Try to look appropriately honored when we announce your acceptance. We'll practice our surprised faces, Maya promised solemnly. Then her smile returned, sharp and amused. Oh, and Ambassador, you might want to tell your security teams to stop trying to lock us out of your systems. We keep having to break back in, and honestly, it's getting tedious for everyone involved. You're still actively, Vareth started, then stopped herself. Of course you are, because why would you stop? Just because we asked nicely. Now you're getting it, Maya said. Approvingly, see, you're learning to think like a human already. We'll get along fine, Ambassador, just you wait. The communication ended. Verleith sat in the empty chamber, surrounded by the holographic remnants of the emergency session, and allowed herself a long, stress-relieving laugh. Minor species. They'd classified Earth as a minor species. The galaxy would never make that mistake again. 3 months later, Verleith attended her first joint security briefing with Earth's Cyber Intelligence Division. The session was enlightening, terrifying, and occasionally hilarious as human operatives explained their methodologies in terms that made even experienced Accord intelligence officers question their career choices. But the breakthrough came during a routine investigation into pirate activity along the Outer Rim. Criminal networks that had evaded capture for decades suddenly found themselves exposed, their communications intercepted, their financial flows tracked, their safe havens compromised, all within 48 hours of Earth's Intelligence Division joining the operation. Standing in the operation center, watching those pirate networks crumble under sustained pressure, Verleith finally understood what Maya had meant about partnership. Humans didn't just bring capabilities to the Accord, they brought perspective, a way of seeing problems that centuries old civilizations had forgotten or never developed. They brought chaos into ordered systems, intuition into logical frameworks, humor into serious deliberations. They brought exactly what the Accord needed, even if they'd been too proud to recognize it. Maya appeared beside her, holding 2 containers of what she'd explained was coffee, a human stimulant beverage that smelled like burning vegetation, but apparently tasted better than it smelled. Thinking deep thoughts, Maya asked, offering 1 container to Verleith. Verleith accepted it cautiously. She'd learned to trust human offerings, mostly thinking about how much has changed in such a short time. 3 months ago we considered Earth a footnote in galactic affairs. Now your people are integrated into every major security initiative across the Accord. Funny how that works. Maya agreed, sipping her coffee. Turns out when you let people contribute instead of dismissing them, everyone benefits. Revolutionary concept, really. You're being sarcastic. Little bit, yeah. They stood in comfortable silence, watching displays track operations across 100 star systems. Human analysts worked alongside Corvian strategists, Hexterian tactical officers, Solthurian financial experts. Integration happening in real time. Barriers dissolving through shared purpose. You know what the best part is, Maya said eventually? We're just getting started. Wait until you see what happens when Earth's scientific community starts collaborating with yours. Wait until our engineers start sharing innovations with your industrial sectors. Wait until our cultural exchanges begin and you realize humans make really entertaining art. I'm not sure the galaxy is ready for that, Verleith said dryly. Probably not, Maya agreed cheerfully, but ready or not, here we come. Minor species, remember. We've got a lot to prove. Verleith's skin pattern shifted to display genuine warmth. Director Thornton, I believe you've already proven everything necessary. Perhaps now you can simply exist as our partners without constantly demonstrating your capabilities. Maya's laugh echoed through the operations center. Where would be the fun In that, ambassador, where would be the fun in that? And watching her walk away to coordinate with the tactical teams, Verleith realized something profound. Earth hadn't just joined the Galactic Accord. They'd begun the process of transforming it, of challenging assumptions that had calcified over millennia, of proving that youth and audacity could match wisdom and experience. The galaxy was changing, humans were changing it, and despite the chaos, the disruption, the constant surprises, Verith found she was looking forward to whatever came next. After all, if there was one thing humans had taught the Accord, it was that the most dangerous assumption anyone could make was believing they knew what came next. Minor species, the phrase would live in galactic history as a cautionary tale about pride, assumption, and the danger of underestimating anyone. But among humans it became a joke, a meme, as they called it, a reminder that sometimes the best way to prove yourself wasn't through force or dominance, but through competence, humor, and the willingness to show the galaxy exactly what they'd been missing. They called Earth a minor species. The humans opened their hands and revealed everything, and the galaxy would never be quite the same again. And GT clears throat.